Now it's time to get the inside scoop on all the electricity going on in Mississippi Thunder Speedway. It's time for Thunder Talk with Dan Bailey, brought to you by Jailhouse Saloon. Now, here's your host, Dan Bailey.
Another week, another edition of Thunder Talk. I'm Dan Bailey. Thank you very much for tuning in. Slight change this week. Remember, no racing this Friday night at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. The road construction on Highway 3553 in Fountain City has closed the road. The alternative route adds at least an hour travel time, and it makes it almost impassable for the big rigs and the haulers that would be getting to the racetrack. So no racing this Friday night, no racing next Friday night, but that actually opens up a window for us to attack this week's program with a slightly different topic of discussion. I'd like to welcome to this week's edition of Thunder Talk, Joe Provinzino. Joe, how you doing this week?
Pretty good.
Joe, normally I talk with drivers. Now, you are a former multi-time race winner at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. We don't get to see you behind the wheel this year, though. So what I wanted to do was talk about that other side of Joe Provinzino, and that is the artist extraordinaire that we see emblazoned on all the hats and shirts and jackets and car sides at all the racetracks that we visit, not only in the upper Midwest, but around the United States. It's Joe Provo racewear, and it's a very unique artistic style that you have. How did you get this started? Tell us how this all came about for you.
When we were kids growing up, and I'm originally from Bibbing, Minnesota, so there wasn't much to do besides play hockey and swim in the Iron Ore pit. So what we ended up doing is we started racing go-karts when we were kids. So, of course, now everybody needs a number, right? So I was artistic enough that I didn't know it at the time, but I always liked to draw, right? And went to the races as kids, and I just thought, well, I'll make a number, right? So all of a sudden make a number, and then, you have other racers that are out there and needing numbers. And I had another good friend of mine, his name is Mark Trenberg. He actually used to build turbine race chassis, and he was hand lettering. So we both would start hand lettering stuff, and we did that for many years, and we had a blast, and at the time, this is back when I was 11 years old. Now, remember, I'm 41, so I've had the business quite a long time.
So as you look through your career, tell us some of the highlights that really stick out to you. And I'm talking about, of course, your lettering and your artistic career. Tell us about some of the highlights that you look back on those and you're like, I'm really proud of that one, or these three, or these several.
Well, it was kind of neat, though, when I actually had to, when I graduated high school, I used to do a lot of hand lettering of goalie helmets throughout the Iron Range. So that got quite popular, and that was a cool timeline and event. And on top of that, after I went to college, I had to go to college to get an art degree, but I still kept my business going. And there was this opportunity in college that came about one of my professors' desk. It was actually an interview to detail at that time was Russ Wallace's Penske, for Team Penske, to go ahead and take care of all that on-track, in-shop, all that kind of detail work. Well, that was back in 1998. There was 100 applicants that were in on the event that were, trying to get this job, and it went down to two. I was one of the two. So they flew me to Michigan International Speedway, and I remember sitting in corner 3 and 4 in the big towers having my interview with all the big wigs with Team Penske, and I remember looking. At that time, I was really shocked that, wow, this could really be something. Long story short, I did not get the job. With Drive and Desire, I'm like, you know what? It was a really cool experience, but we didn't get it. So I'm going to just keep on doing what I'm doing and staying with the dirt side of racing and, build that up and have a good time doing it. Long story short, fast forward my career to 2000, I'd say 9, 10, and 11. And we started doing a lot of work with different NASCAR teams. So that was actually quite fun. And then it got to a point of I felt more like a driver because in the competition world of promotions and everything, I actually felt like the driver that wasn't producing enough because I was still trying to produce all my race dirt, my dirt teams and NASCAR teams. So I decided to step down in 2012 and not do any of that kind of stuff. And I figured, what's ended up happening is by staying with the asphalt stuff and doing that, and all of a sudden I lose all those contacts and all that kind of information, and I come back to the dirt world, all my guys that I've taken care of might not want me to do it anymore. So I chosen to stay with the dirt, and it was probably the best decision I could have made.
We see you at the racetracks, and I mean multiple racetracks. Seems like you're everywhere. You've got that trailer full of racewear for specific drivers for your company. Can you even give us an idea of the volume of shirts and hats and stickers and koozies that you produce in just 1 year?
It's actually, I can't give you an exact number, but the multiple teams that we take care of, I'd say, are up in the 150 range. Now, you got to realize that these teams range from Alaska to California to Texas to Georgia. And the racing circle, when people see the snowflakes up here, they're racing down south. So things are always moving and going. And as far as, like, when I say teams, we take care of not only just their promotional side of decals and the racetracks, but we also take care of all their embroidery needs and all their crew uniforms and all the driver's t-shirts and all the racing hats and everything that would go with the racing team and the fire suits. And it's an overwhelming experience. I wouldn't trade it for the world. We've been doing this for 31 years. Like I said, I'm 41, so you can do the math. But it's never a job that you can say that you're doing the same every day. You're just you're changing. Everything changes.
We all know you, or those of us in the racing circle, see all this material that you produce. Have you ever branched outside of the world of racing? Do you ever do embroidery work or artwork for non-racing related entities?
We actually do. I don't advertise any of that kind of stuff. I just try to stick with the motorsports side of it. But my son plays ice hockey, so we ventured off into doing quite a bit of different, jersey and uniform related stuff. I do not advertise any of that stuff. It's not, it's basically by choice. I don't want to give my business the conflicting of, we do everything. We could do a lot more, but being a one-man band and trying to take care of all this stuff myself, I just chose to just stick with the motorsports side of everything.
Well, I do have to ask you this question. Those of us at Mississippi Thunder Speedway are familiar not only with your work, but also seeing you behind the wheel of a 600 mod. Are you still at all driving anything these days, or are you taking a little hiatus from behind the wheel time?
Well, it was actually, when I started driving back in 2011, I believe, with myself, I've always had personal goals, and if that was business-related, life-related, work-related, sports-related, racing-related, I always wanted to do the best that I could. So I've always had goals. Before I even on the first setup piece of paper that I had from my notebook for my 600 modified, I had written on there to win 100 races. That actually, I didn't realize it was, they would do as well as we did. And we reached that goal. And like I said, from 2013 to last year, I didn't race that much, but it seemed like every time we did race, we did quite well. So last year we hit the 100 mark, and then I raced 3 more times, so we actually made 103. And without that, I couldn't be more thankful for another one of my business partners myself is Jimmy and Chris Mars at Mars Race Cars. They helped me out a ton. We take care of all of Jimmy Mars's apparel for the racing team and all the MB Custom race car stuff and all his decals for his cars. And he was more than generous enough to, say, hey, come on, bring your car over here. And they helped me out a lot. And I guess for having that kind of backing in your corner, I guess for myself and for them, I didn't want to make a mistake on not performing, right? So you have to pretty much perform at high standards when you getting professional help, right? So if you didn't win or didn't do good, the pressure's on yourself. But I always wanted to do good in everything that we do, and I hope to go out and perform at the best. And my other goal is never to be a driver that would ever touch another driver out there. I always had a saying before I went out in every racetrack, is bring this back is how I brought it here. So if that would be a heat race or feature, I never wanted to touch anybody. I'm not that type of person to drive a car that way, because now again, the flip side of it is not only am I facing my own business, my business related is racing. So I still have to show up at the racetrack, but if it's on the fan side of it was my souvenir trailer, or it was at the racetrack. And like I said, it was something I took really serious, and it was something that I was very grateful to line myself up with the right people and do as good as we could.
Now, the next time that we're going to see some green flag action down here at Mississippi Thunder Speedway will be for the 11th annual River City Rumble over the 4th of July weekend, a Thursday and Friday special event. It's a 2-day event, and I have already seen, and a lot of people on social media have already seen the artwork that you've put together for this year's program. It looks, I got to tell you, as always, it looks awesome, very cool. When you get a new order for, a new shirt or a new design, where do you start? Where does this come from? Do you just kind of let your mind flow and see what comes to you, or how do you get started? What's the process here?
Well, the process on a lot of these T-shirts and event stuff that we do is I always like to go back and kind of search around and look at what's the event, who won it the years previous, or the colors, or everything to me is about color, right? I mean, I'm a firm believer of making sure that things are readable and you can see it, it's bright. And I mean, you look at my race car that I raced, I didn't have any stripes or nothing on it. And I'm a guy who owns a decal company. So I just had numbers and a couple sponsor stuff on there so you can have readability. The T-shirt side of it brings you to a different fan base because now you're reaching out to the people that want all that fancy, cool stuff for the event. And I think is the more you can get on a shirt that really looks cool and bright and loud and showcase the previous winners, I think you kind of hit a home run because I'll be honest with you, everybody's goal as a race car driver is to get the name on the back of the T-shirt because it's always going to be there, right? So you can go ahead and, you can, have T-shirts some year that two conflicting drivers that don't get along can end up on the same shirt, and you know what? You got a heck of a conversation piece, So that's the cool side of that, but the River City Rumble is actually going to be our next event that we come to in 2 weeks at Mountain City. So we got a lot of stuff stocked up for that. But the event, that's actually I looked at my shop today. I think we had 3 or 4 of those River City Rumble races that I won in my modified. But it's kind of those are one of the funnest events of the year. And Steve Wright, who puts a ton of money into it, is one of the nicest guys. And people like that. Racing, it's like you don't want to see those guys go away, so I always want to make sure you can please most and make everybody happy as much as you can. And I know in racing it's tough at times, but being in the decal business come Monday morning, you can get a lot of guys that have accidents that don't get along, and I get to hear both sides of their stories when they need repair work done. So it's quite a comical job I have.
Well, let me put you on the spot with this one, and I don't mean to slight to any of your customers, but when you are in the trailer selling your product, what seems to be the number one most sought-after item? What's everybody looking for? Is it a Jimmy Mars shirt? Is it a special hat? What seems to be your top seller that you can always sell no matter where you are?
Well, yeah, it is Jimmy Mars stuff. I mean, I'll tell you what, though. He is one, if people ever look at, you go on his website, look at the amount of races, and I'm not talking about number of, I don't even know how many he's won, but when you can put yourself in the category of being a Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame, and then go back, he's about won almost every Crown Jewel event, not once, but multiple times. And those Crown Jewel events, stem from $30,000 to $50,000 to $100,000 races that he's won. So he will always a guy in our area that's going to sell a ton of stuff, and now he has his son Cam starting out, and I've already had requests on when we're going to come out with Sam Mars shirts, and my joke with Sam is that when that first feature hits, I guess I better start hitting the paper to get some drawings put together. But no, we have, and we do a lot of work, and I'm very fortunate enough to walk down to the pit area, and probably one of the coolest things that I can say for myself and my son Angelo that comes with me a lot, that when he's down in the pit area, all the drivers from when he was small till now, that they're always good to him, and that means a lot to me as a parent, and it means a lot to me as, it's not like bringing him to a babysitter, but to have him walk around and, all the drivers are super, super nice to him, and that means a lot to me. And I think a lot of people get caught up in the moment on racing as far as who wins and who's battling, but at the end of the day, There probably isn't a bigger community that's going to come together as far as the racing world. I think it's really neat when things do happen, how, the racing families do come together. But on the other side, it's kind of neat to have the rivalries out there too as well.
Of course, the best way for a race fan to get some more information is to spot you at the racetrack, walk up to your trailer and find out what you're selling. But if they want to do a little research, say, for example, online, how do they find you?
You can go to joeprovoracewear.com, and then the Facebook, Joe Provo Racewear. All the information you really need on as far as ordering T-shirts and hats and where we are and how it comes. I mean, all that stuff is always posted on our website. So that's pretty much all phone numbers and email addresses and point of contact and everything is right there.
Well, I got to tell you, the world of motorsports is super cool. Obviously, we wouldn't be doing this if we didn't like it. We love this sport. It's it's almost like a subgenre of the sport, and that's the way that fans flock to T-shirts and hats to show their support not only for the sport but for specific drivers. Could be family members, could be people they've never met, they're just fans of them, and it's got to be very gratifying to you to see your work in the grandstands on hundreds, if not thousands, of race fans from track to track around the United States.
It is, and to be quite honest, I remember being at the Minnesota State Fair about 3 years ago, and I walking around, and all of a sudden I turned to the left and looked, and like, that's one of my shirts. I mean, it's, or even just being anywhere, it's like seeing, and I never will go up to people and say, hey, the shirt you're wearing, we did, but I always sit back and like, it actually is pretty cool to see it, because we go through so much of it and so many designs and pieces and parts, but actually when you're out away from your job, just seeing it, it's like, oh, wow, that's kind of cool, Yeah, I mean, I've been around a long time, and I understand the physical racing part of it, and I understand the physical business side of the apparel, so I'm getting the whole experience, so you say, from driving a car to, being at the track and dealing with the people and the racers and the racetracks. My number one thing is always service, is that I would never take on any part of a job or anything and all of a sudden not produce it. And that was one other thing, too, that why I couldn't race as much is because if there were jobs that would come in on Thursday and, if it was down at Salt Lake City or somewhere in Iowa that needed to be produced, I couldn't come down there with the race car and see people that I'm out there racing while their stuff is not done. So I chose the other way as far as I will produce your product first rather than race the car. And that racing the car always came last. But I missed it, you miss driving on the slippery surfaces and doing that stuff, because for me that was more of a great mindset of how you can be with throttle control and how you can kind of manipulate your way through lap traffic and stuff like that. So there's a lot of parts of the business that I do love, and there's a lot of parts of the driving that I do miss.
Well, it is a fun sport, as I said, and you are an integral part of this sport, not only for the racers, but for the fans as well. Joe Provinzino, thank you very much for spending some time chatting with us this week on Thunder Talk.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dan.
Hey, don't forget, the next event at Mississippi Thunder Speedway is coming up that 4th of July weekend, Thursday and Friday. Special event called the 11th Annual River City Rumble. This brings back, for the first time in a while, the Wasota Challenge Series late models, along with the A mods, the B mods, and the hobby stocks that you've come to know and love at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. I guarantee you will have a lot of fun. Huge number of prizes, as Joe already mentioned, from Steve Reitzel and the fine folks at River City Manufacturing and Machining. Would love to see you at Mississippi Thunder Speedway Thursday and Friday of the 4th of July weekend. Fireworks both nights, not only on the track, but also in the skies above. Can't wait. Those of you listening to the radio, don't forget, you can also find the entire unedited version of this discussion with Joe Provinzino on the Mississippi Thunder Speedway YouTube channel. Make sure you check it out.
Come on down to the Jailhouse Saloon. Yeah, come on down to the Jailhouse Saloon.
The Jailhouse Saloon is where everyone wants to do time. Come on in and nab up some of the best homemade pizza around. The Jailhouse has happy hour weekdays from 2 until 6, free pool on Mondays, and lunch every day at a great price.
The Jailhouse Saloon, where everyone wants to do time.